Welcome to the video I've entitled A Much Too Quick Overview of the Life and Philosophy of Jacques Derrida, structured around Derrida's views on deconstruction, différance, the metaphysics of presence, binary opposition, the ethics of hospitality, the politics of identity, the limits of rationality, and the paradox of forgiveness. This video was written and produced and is presented by me, Andrew Chapman. Jacques Derrida was a French philosopher born in El Biar, Algeria in 1930. He is widely recognized as one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century. Derrida developed a unique approach to philosophy which has become known as deconstruction. This video will explore Derrida's life and philosophical views. Deconstruction is perhaps Derrida's most well-known contribution to philosophy. It is a method of textual analysis that seeks to uncover the hidden assumptions and contradictions that underlie our understanding of language and meaning. Derrida argued that all texts contain internal contradictions and paradoxes, and that the meaning of any text is always in a state of flux. For Derrida, deconstruction was not a theory or a method, but rather a way of reading and interpreting texts. Derrida's conception of différance is closely related to his theory of deconstruction. Différance is a term that Derrida used to describe the idea that meaning is never fixed, but is always deferred or postponed. He argued that meaning is always in a state of becoming, and that it can never be fully present or fixed. The metaphysics of presence is another key concept in Derrida's philosophy. Derrida argued that Western philosophy has traditionally placed a high value on the idea of presence, the notion that things can be directly experienced and known. Derrida believed that this emphasis on presence was a flawed idea, as it ignored the ways in which language and meaning are always subject to interpretation and manipulation. Binary opposition is a concept that Derrida used to describe the way in which our understanding of the world is often structured around dualisms, such as good and evil, male and female, or self and other. Derrida argued that these binary oppositions are always hierarchical, with one term being valued more highly than the other. He believed that deconstruction could be used to challenge these power structures and create more equitable and just social and political systems. The ethics of hospitality is a theme that runs throughout Derrida's work. He argued that ethical relations should be based on the principle of unconditional hospitality, which involves welcoming the other without any preconditions or expectations. Derrida saw this ethical principle as a way of challenging the exclusionary and discriminatory practices that are often present in our society. The politics of identity was another area of interest for Derrida. He argued that identity is never fixed or stable, but is always in a state of flux. This means that any attempt to define a particular identity or group will always be incomplete, as it will be based on incomplete and shifting understandings of that identity. Derrida was particularly interested in the way that identity categories are often used to reinforce power dynamics in society, and he saw deconstruction as a way of challenging these power structures. Derrida was critical of the Western philosophical tradition for its over-reliance on reason and rationality. He argued that this emphasis on rationality was based on a false assumption that reason could provide us with a fixed and certain knowledge of the world. Derrida believed that this idea of rationality was flawed, as it ignored the ways in which language and meaning are always subject to interpretation and manipulation. Finally, the paradox of forgiveness is a concept that Derrida explored in his later work. He argued that forgiveness is never complete or final, as it is always subject to interpretation and reinterpretation. Derrida saw forgiveness as a process that is always in a state of becoming, rather than a fixed and certain outcome. Despite being one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century, Derrida's work has also been criticized for being difficult to understand and at times even obscure. Nonetheless, his ideas have had a significant impact on literary theory, linguistics, and cultural studies, and his legacy continues to shape the way we think about language and meaning. Derrida's contributions to the field of philosophy have not only influenced the academic world, but have also had an impact on the broader cultural and political landscape. His ideas have been used to challenge the power structures that underlie our society and to promote more equitable and just social and political systems. Derrida's work has left a lasting legacy in the world of philosophy and beyond. His ideas continue to be studied and debated by scholars, and his impact on the intellectual world cannot be denied. In conclusion, Jacques Derrida was a philosopher who had a significant impact on the world of philosophy, literature, and the humanities. Through his philosophy of deconstruction, Derrida challenged the way we think about language and meaning and the assumptions that underlie our understanding of the world. His work on différance, the metaphysics of presence, binary opposition, the ethics of hospitality, the politics of identity, the limits of rationality, and the paradox of forgiveness all contributed to the development of his philosophy of deconstruction. Thanks for watching this video, which I entitled A Much Too Quick Overview of the Life and Philosophy of Jacques Derrida, structured around Derrida's views on deconstruction, différance, the metaphysics of presence, binary opposition, the ethics of hospitality, the politics of identity, the limits of rationality, and the paradox of forgiveness. This video was written, produced, and presented by me, Andrew Chapman.